In today's video, we're going to be going over an absolutely massive PlayStation 4 RPG that will probably be announced very soon. It's coming from Gearbox Software. It's a game that so many of us have been waiting for. Borderlands 3 will probably finally be officially revealed at PAX East 2019. On top of that, it looks like Gearbox Software is bringing along other never-before-seen reveals. More on that in a little bit. A Granblue Fantasy 5th anniversary stream is set for March 9th, so I imagine we're going to hear more about Granblue Fantasy Versus as well as the traditional JRPG Granblue Fantasy Relink. Very important to hear about that game, as I believe this is the official word we're getting from Games after the departure of Platinum Games from the project. We have some details on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Yes, that game is going to get its official unveiling on April 13th as a part of the Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, but it looks like a very renowned developer in Chris Avellone has been working on the game. Want to take a little bit of a look at that. Also, you guys may recall us talking about pirated PlayStation 4 games and them being sold on eBay, jailbroken consoles, all that kind of stuff. Well, Sony is now demanding over $20,000 from the person selling those pirated PS4 games and jailbroken consoles. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, Resident Evil 2 is one of the big gaming successes early on in 2019, and Capcom has shared some scrapped ideas for Resident Evil 2. While RE2 does generally retain the fundamentals the original game set forth, they were actually contemplating implementing some other ideas as well. And I want to round out this video by taking a look at some great PS4 game deals available right now, specifically a great deal on Persona Dancing Endless Night Collection and the PSVR title in Beat Saber. More on that at the end of this video. First up, Gearbox Software is attending PAX East 2019, and along with that, this is your opportunity to get a behind-the-scenes look at Gearbox Software and Gearbox Publishing, along with the latest news and updates from the makers of Borderlands, Battleborn, Brothers in Arms, and more. We will have never-before-seen reveals, exclusives, and surprises, so don't miss out. Because they are putting out an official statement like this, because they're having a panel dedicated to Gearbox as a whole, I imagine that Borderlands 3 will finally be unveiled at PAX East 2019. We know that Gearbox has been working on the title. We know at this point it's probably pretty far along, and I wouldn't be all too surprised if this game is announced and then it's announced for a quick turnaround to be released in, say, the fall. Again, this is a game that's been in development for quite a while, and we've heard rumblings about Borderlands 1 being remastered. Well, I don't know a better pre-order bonus you could throw in, or say a limited edition offering, than a Borderlands 1 remaster. I think that makes a ton of sense. And hopefully at PAX East 2019, we'll see Borderlands 3 in action, we'll see some gameplay, and then we'll get even more content at E3, because E3 is just a few months away at this point, believe it or not. Again, I'm personally hoping this is a 2019 release, and a lot of you guys might be thinking 2019 is way too soon, but I'm just thinking on the basis that we've known that Gearbox has been working on this game for a couple of years now. I'm just assuming that it's pretty far along and it's almost ready to go. We'll keep you guys posted, but the Gearbox main theater show is set to take place on Thursday, March 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern time, so not much longer to wait for that announcement. Moving on from that, a Granblue Fantasy 5th anniversary stream is set for next week on March 9th. Games has announced that they'll be celebrating the 5th anniversary of their mobile title Granblue Fantasy with a live stream centered around the series on March 9th. Chances are we're going to see some content of the Arc System Works developed fighting game in Granblue Fantasy Versus, but also for the traditional JRPG in Granblue Fantasy Relink that's coming out exclusively on the PlayStation 4, and a game that actually has some mystery surrounding it right now because Platinum Games has departed from the project and now Games are working on the game alone. Now, Platinum Games obviously put forth some work in the game, so their fundamentals are probably intact, but Games is rounding out the project, and we do know that this game will be seeing a worldwide release along with Granblue Fantasy Versus, so that is some exciting news. And not only a worldwide release, but a simultaneous worldwide release, which is very rare, especially for a JRPG like this that is making its first foray into a Western market. But that is some great news because that game is shaping up so well. The gameplay we've seen thus far has been stunning. Visually, gameplay, music, all of that has looked top-notch, and on March 9th, we should be hearing more about the Granblue Fantasy franchise, so we'll keep you guys posted on that as well. Another game we'll be hearing soon about on April 13th specifically is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. We have an update on the development of this game, specifically that renowned RPG developer Chris Avellone has been working on the title. Now, if you're not familiar with Chris Avellone, he's an esteemed RPG designer working on some great games including Fallout 2, Planescape Torment, Icewind Dale, KOTOR 2, Neverwinter Nights 2, and Fallout New Vegas. Somebody tweeted at him saying, "What games are you writing for currently besides Dying Light 2? That's another game he's working on, and he responded saying, I can't say 100% because of NDAs, but the ones I can say, I just finished up work with Jedi The Fallen Order, and beyond that, there's another big bomb dropping in a month, I mean maybe, So that's some interesting information, and if you do go on Avalon's LinkedIn page, it contains some tidbits on what he did for Respawn. Apparently, he worked on the game for slightly less than a year as a narrative designer and writer, who did story work, story character reviews, and wrote cinematic scripts for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Ever since EA took the helm of Star Wars game publishing, it's been a little bit of a train wreck. We know how Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 turned out, but Jedi Fallen Order is going to be a single-player, story-driven experience, so this is a chance for them to really right the ship on Star Wars video game releases, and with it being worked on Respawn just put out Apex Legends. Respawn's at a high right now, and if they can follow up the release of Apex Legends with a stellar Star Wars game release, I think them as a studio, they'd be seen in a really good light. Of course, I've always been really high on Respawn since Titanfall 2. That game was tremendous, unfortunately a little bit of a commercial bomb, but they are rebounding really well after Apex Legends, and hopefully Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order turns out to be really good as well, a game that's to be released this fall, and we'll be seeing the official unveiling on April 13th. Moving on from that, Sony is demanding over $20,000 from the person selling pirated PS4 games and jailbroken consoles. These sales were taking place on eBay. Sony then filed a lawsuit against the person, requesting $16,800 in damages as well as $3,500 in judicial costs. Here is the accusation. Defendant Eric David Scales advertises and sells jailbroken PlayStation 4 video game consoles on eBay. These jailbroken PS4 consoles are loaded with unauthorized copies of PS4 video games. According to the defendant, people that own his PS4 consoles can stop buying games. This amount is warranted in light of defendant's willful infringement and violations of the DMCA, his refusal to appear in this action, and his acknowledged understanding and intent that his products be used to deprive Sony of the opportunity to sell genuine PS4 video games. I think this was to be expected. You shouldn't be selling jailbroken consoles on a platform like eBay, a platform that is so public, especially of a console that's still being sold at this point. I could almost understand if it was, say, a custom firmware PSP, because that is such an old platform. They're not selling PSPs even more. Even with that, they do sell PSP games digitally for PlayStation Vita users, so even that is a little bit of a gray area, but to sell PlayStation 4 jailbroken consoles, come on, you knew you were gonna get in trouble with that one. Alright, moving on from that, Resident Evil 2 was one of the biggest successes of gaming so far in 2019. That game has been received really well from a critical and commercial standpoint, and Capcom has actually shared some scrapped ideas for the Resident Evil 2 remake. The artists were at one point envisioning a more military-themed aesthetic for the Tyrant, but they eventually settled into a look more befitting of a city environment. They also had the idea of a new enemy, an unsettling new jump-scare enemy type, the Condemned. It would have tied into the remake's orphanage, but the idea never progressed beyond temp designs and animation. Beyond that, there was a rough concept for a driving sequence. We all thought, why don't you just drive off? And a scenario with cable cars descending from the mountains. Of course, that didn't come to fruition. And they also toyed with the idea of a first-person mode for Resident Evil 2 using a fixed camera perspective more in line with the original 1998 release. The team explained, saying, we were thinking of the fixed camera as a sales point, but over the shoulder was great, so we thought we didn't need two types. I would have liked to see first-person in Resident Evil 2. Maybe that would have parlayed into a VR component as well. Unfortunately, that never came to fruition either, but Resident Evil 2 as is turned out to be a great game, so I really can't complain all too much, but really interesting to see what was on the table but didn't make light of day in the final release. Lastly, I do want to give you guys a heads up on some great game deals available right now. Persona Dancing Endless Night Collection is available for $77 over on Amazon. This includes a lot of content, including both Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight, Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, and those two games separately were released at full $60 price points. Kind of excessive on the pricing on that end, but you get both of those for $77, and with this bundle, you also get a digital download code for Persona 4 Dancing All Night. This collection is the only way you can get Persona 4 Dancing All Night on the PlayStation 4, so 3 games for $77. Even though it is just a music rhythm dancing game, that still might be a little bit steep of a price point, but 3 games for sure is better than one, and if you like the Persona music, if you like the Persona aesthetics, it's something worth checking out. And lastly, I do want to note that the PlayStation VR title in Beat Saber is available at Walmart.com, $25 for that, a little bit of a discount. Beat Saber is a tremendous music rhythm game as well, one of the best VR games available right now, and if you have PlayStation VR, definitely a game worth checking out. $25, still a little bit expensive, but it doesn't go on sale much, so I would give that a recommendation as well. So that's gonna conclude this video. Again, it looks like Borderlands 3 will finally be announced as a part of the Gearbox main theater show. It's taking place Thursday, March 28, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. It hasn't been confirmed, but I would imagine that if they don't announce Borderlands 3, gamers are gonna be very, very disappointed. A Granblue Fantasy 5th anniversary livestream is set for March 9th. Expect to hear some new information on those games very soon. Chris Avellone, a renowned developer that has worked on some great RPGs, has been working on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That game's official reveal will come April 13th. Sony is demanding over $20,000 from someone that was selling pirated PlayStation 4 games and jailbroken consoles. Capcom had some more ideas for Resident Evil 2 that never made the light of day, and check out those great deals on Persona Dancing Endless Night Collection as well as Beat Saber. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.